Hey! Now, hi! You're probably wondering why I'm here. Anyway, I'm so pissed. You all look beautiful. I'm serious. I'm really tickled. Wow, hey. All right. I always get all these different people coming in. I'm like, all right. I mean, I'm excited. Do I look it? I guess not. All right. But what's really great is that I want to let everybody know that I'm thankful for all those who are part of ACF who make this available, to be able to support financially and spiritually to make this happen. So I never really got a chance to really show my gratitude to them and my gratitude to you for your heart and your love for God. So thank you. So I'm going to start with a word of prayer. We're going to go right into it. Father, thank you for the greatness of this day and for the greatness of each person's life. Father, you can help me to truly kindle that light within them, to see from your perspective, to have your value systems, to perceive that which is yet to be, and to walk forth in your power and authority in this day and time, to truly be your dwelling place, and to stand within your shadow and walk in the footsteps of your firstborn from the dead are risen and return, Lord Jesus, your anointed. Now, some people think I'm really strange. I know that's kind of obvious. But anyway, most of us are made up by what happens to us or how we grow up. And I had a really weird situation being the oldest of 8 kids. How many have a big family? Anyone have a big family? No, I'm the oldest of 8 kids, right? So my mom and dad divorced at my ripe old age of when I was 6. And then I had another brother, another sister, another brother, a sister, and a sister. So I learned to change diapers. I learned how to not pin my sister to her diaper, which is like really terrifying when she won't stop crying. You pick her up. What's the matter? What's the matter? And all of a sudden you see this big red blotch there, and you're like, oh no! And then things like that. I don't know if anyone take care of other people. You ever be responsible for other people? Not easy. It's not. And one of the biggest things is when you have 4 sisters and you have 2 brothers and the other one is a real hellion, right? Now, I'm not saying that in a bad way. Yeah, I am. But anyway, what happened was he's always in trouble. And I couldn't figure out why. And you know what the fault of it was? Me. The reason he was a hellion was because of me. Because every time he was in trouble, I raced in there to save the day. I got my nose broken because of him. I got my ribs broken because of him. I took on 3 guys because they were beating him up. And I came in there and rescued him and beat ruined their whole day. But he always got in trouble, and I always came in to save the day. Same with my sisters. So we moved from one place to another place I don't want to go into the details, but we keep moving. We lived all over the United States. And one of the things that happened, which was really unique, is that I joined the military, okay? I left and joined the military to help support the family. But what was really weird is that he used to get into fights when he was in school. He'd walk up and say, watch out or my brother will kick your ass. I had no idea this was going on. And he would deliberately pick on people that were much bigger than him because I would kick their ass. And I never realized that I was the cause of his problem because he never had to face any challenges on his own. He never had to take responsibility for anything. I took responsibility for everything. And this is a real problem when you want someone to grow up. You always want to protect them. That's just the reverse. You got to let them have enough for them to grow, but not enough to overcome them. Does that make any sense? You cannot protect people. You cannot be God for them. As much as you want to be, as much as you don't want them hurt, as much as you don't want, you can't be God for them. They have to learn. How many have ever learned a lesson? All right? Was it painful? All right? Now that's your tuition on learning. Now, did someone else that you knew had the same problem before, and you just did the same thing they did, made the same mistake. So they paid for it and you paid for it. Wouldn't it have been easier just to learn from their mistakes? So one of the things that my responsibility is to teach you the words so that you don't make the same mistakes I do. You can make some new ones if you like, but don't make the same. I'm here to teach you so you don't make the same mistakes. And what everybody wants to be is God. Don't be God. What happened to my brother is I was gone. I come back on leave from the military, being in the Tonkin Gulf. That's a part of Asia during the Vietnam War. Anyway, so I come back, and he's in trouble again. The whole neighborhood's upset with him. And they're all threatening to kill him. I'm like, okay, here we go. And I went, what's going on? And you know what he was doing? Breaking into people's homes and stealing stuff and selling it. Because you're going to defend me, aren't you? Now, that's odd, isn't it? What would you do? Defending that which is wrong? Being in the military, I learned a lot about what's right and wrong. I learned really quick, but that I couldn't help him on. I said, no, you now have to face what you did. Either return all the things, or else face the punishment. And he was so. From that time on, he got beaten up, but from that time on, we were no longer. He never acknowledged me. Then my sister, who I also bailed out all the time, decided to pull a gun on somebody and got arrested for attempted manslaughter. And she goes, well, you're going to bail me out, aren't you? No. You know how hard that is? I remember changing her diaper, a little bitty thing, right? Mm-hmm. Aren't you going to bail me out? I'll be there every day to see you. If I'm not. I said, did you do that? Were you going to shoot him? Yep. Is that right? She goes, well, he deserves it. Okay. After being in a combat situation, I don't see any justification for shooting anybody. Unless it's absolutely your life is on the line. So I had to let her, I was going to bail her out. Does she love me now? No, she hates me. She can't stand me. It's my sister. The question is, what do you do? Now, has she grown from that? Yeah. Did my brother grow from that? Almost, kind of, sort of. But the problem is, who ruined his life? I did. I never allowed them to grow what? Up. I was working so hard to protect them, to keep them from bad things, that they found bad things all by themselves, and they became the author of it. Do you understand the problem? Now, when it comes to God, we're supposed to be azirs, yes or no? You're supposed to be the ones that judge, like a referee. What do you call that guy that's on the football field that's got the weird shirt and the little whistle and the hat? What do you call them? Referees. Now, how many here could be hired to actually be a referee in a football game? Someone just walks in and says, you are now hired to be the referee in a football game. Yeah, what would you say?
I'm not ready.
Well, just have faith. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. You can't just have faith that you're going to do it. All right, we need someone to do brain surgery. Who's got the faith to do it? That has nothing to do with it. Do you have the skill? Do you have the knowledge? Do you have the background? Do you have the skill developed? Do you understand what the hell you're doing? How many here would feel comfortable if you were going into surgery and have brain surgery and there's a 6-year-old in scrubs with a scalpel in both hands? Why? He lacks knowledge. He lacks wisdom. He has no experience. And no, don't you even touch my body. Got it? You want someone who's experienced. And without experience, there's no wisdom. And without wisdom, you can't even understand what life's all about. And I did this really weird stuff. I mean, how many have ever been to prison? I went to prison for 2 years, not as an inmate, but as someone to help those who were in there get out. Do you know people in prison think that they did something wrong? None of them. None of them did anything wrong. You say, what did you do? I didn't do anything wrong. Not one of them. Because in their eyes, they didn't do anything what? Or did they know what the law says? No, they didn't know what the law says. That's why they thought they were unjustly punished. Well, the law says you don't kill, you don't steal, you don't rob, right? The law, generally speaking. And they broke it. But they had justification for it. It's irrelevant. You understand the problem here? You're called to be Azirs. You've got to know the rule book. Just like a referee, you've got to know the rule book. If you don't know the rule book, you're going to make big mistakes. And mistakes in judgment, and you're going to ruin other people's lives. Why? And this is what this whole subject is about today. What's the difference between what we're taught and what the Word says? And what the biggest problem we have is that we think we're right in our own eyes. We think that our own perception is what's right. Our own feelings are correct, and that's not true. So let's begin. Once I get this back on again. All right, so we're going to start off with something really unique and weird. I need someone to volunteer. No, I'm just joking. Again, this is a true way of life. You need David. Remember, he took out the lion, and then he took out the what? The bear, long before he took out Goliath. And everybody shies away from challenges. You can't grow unless you take on challenges. Does that make sense? Default assumption. What is a default assumption? It's what you automatically assume is right without checking or verifying it. So I'm going to help you understand default assumptions. Now, this animal is very unique. Does everyone know what it is? Are you aware that a peacock does not lay eggs nor give live birth? Did you know that? The peacock does not lay eggs nor give live birth. Then how in the heck do we have peacocks? Anyone know the answer? It's really simple. It's the peahen that lays the eggs. Now understand what happened to you. Why couldn't you answer the question? Because that's not a peacock. That's a peahen. This is a peacock. Okay, I'll point to you. Tell me what it is. What is this? All right. What is the name of the species? A peafowl. All right. Apobocrystasis is the scientific name. But I want you to understand this. You defaulted to assume that, okay, I can do the same thing with chickens, right? Roosters don't lay eggs nor give live birth. How do we get roosters? Has nothing to do with the rooster. I mean, yeah, it does, but not in the immediate situation. All right. Now I'm going to show you a demonstration. One of my secret skills and ability is the ability, and I don't let anyone know about this, but I can jump higher than any building in San Diego. I can't say any more than that because I only live in San Diego, but I can jump higher than any building in San Diego. How many believe it? Would you like me to show you? Buildings can't jump. Now, what happened? Why you're all like stunned? Does Frank really have superpowers? No, no more so than you do. You can jump, right? Buildings can't move at all. So I can jump higher than a building. You assumed that I'm going to jump higher than they are. That's like, no, I'm saying I can jump higher than a building. A building can't jump. You all making sense of this? What's the problem? Default what? Assumption. Because that's how you would use it. That doesn't mean that's how I'm using it. Does that make sense? Please understand, I'm teaching you about what? Okay, I'll take you back to your for. Okay. Default what? Assumption. This is the problem that we all have. We aren't aware of it. We assume without checking the details. We make these ridiculous assumptions by our own feelings and emotions or what we're accustomed to, and it's wrong. Does that make sense? And that's why you all were confused how this thing didn't lay eggs or give live birth. And yet we got them. You didn't know how I could possibly jump higher than a building. Is that making sense? Okay, here we go. Now, this is an image from the Wi-Fi, right? How many use Wi-Fi? Now, the transmitter on the Wi-Fi is like a little miniature radar unit. You can actually track the time signals from the transpulse. And this is actually done here in Berkeley, California, and there's another university working on it, where you can actually get into, see the room, another room. There's nobody in there except one transmitting antenna. It's just a Wi-Fi antenna. You measure the strength in which it's transmitting, and you wait for, you have a receiver on the outside, and you can tell who's in there. Everything in there. You can see the tables, you can see the people, all this can be seen. Got it? This is the latest invention. But did you know there was an ancient invention to see through walls that's better than this? In certain places, this ancient device allowed people to see through walls. Do you know what it is? You may have heard about it. It's called a window. It's called a window. You can see right through brick. Is that a brick wall? I can see right through it. That's an ancient invention called a window. Does it compare to this? I can look through much better through the window and see everybody inside. But you want to understand, it's the default by the usage of words, and this is where rhetoric comes in and how politicians can maneuver your emotions with that. But that's outside the scope of this. All right. Now, when we're talking about Christianity, when did Christianity, as we know it today, when did it come into being? 360 AD. What was it before? It lived by every word of what? Every word of God. It wasn't until the Nicene Conference, right here, 340 AD, that we merged the great Roman religions into Christianity. And they all became one. And how in the heck did that happen? Well, first of all, everybody in Rome, everybody in Europe, had multiple gods. Because they can't imagine anything. I mean, if you stop and think about it, let's say if I asked it, if I could talk to a dog, right? And say, doggy, do you have a God? And you go, ruff. I go, what's he look like? And you go, whoa, right? And an image of this, heavenly pooch would be there, maybe a Irish setter or something, right? If I asked a dog, I've asked a horse what his God looked like, it would probably look like a what? Like a beautiful Arabian stallion or something, right? And if I asked a cat what his God looked like, it would probably look like a puma or a tiger or a lion, right? So when man tries to do the same thing, he tries to conceptualize the existence of a God. What does he make him like? Himself. With all the same passions, all the same desires, all the same frailties, all the same capricious responses. That's the problem. And this is what they were used to. This is what they were familiar with. You all know why we have the days of the week. In the Hebrew, what's the first day of the week called? Number 1. What's the second day of the week called? Number 2. Third day? 3, right? 4. You got it? We call them what? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. What's a Sunday? It's the worship of the sun, the symbol of Jupiter. Wow. The administering God is Apollo. So we had Jupiter, we have Apollo, which is his direct descendant to be able to administer and carry the sun across. And then we start off on Tuesday. Tuesday is what day? In Spanish, it's Martes, right? Which means Mars. Mars. So what is Mars? The god of what? And he looks badass, right? Mars, right? So you call upon Mars on Tuesday. You don't start anything unless it's a what? Every time I try to start anything, and on any other day but Tuesday, nobody wants to do it. They always want to start everything on a what? Tuesday. Why? It's Mars Day. It's what all Greeks and Romans do. Start it on a Tuesday. I tried starting things on Monday. Boing. Nobody wants to join in. Nobody wants to be a part of it. Best thing to start everything on is on a what? Tuesday. How about Wednesday? Wednesday is what? Miércoles, right? Which is Mercury. See, all Spanish are all right in there with the Latinos, right? So what's Mercury? He's the messenger of the gods. He delivers messages. His day is Wednesday. What does he do? He delivers messages. And if you send your messages on any other day but Wednesday, it will not arrive and Mercury will not protect it. So you have to send your messages on Wednesday. When does our mail, U.S. mail, explode? What day of the week? Wednesday. When does, and I have an email server, when does your email server blossom out and are really big? Wednesday. You get the maximum amount of traffic on a Wednesday. Isn't that weird? We're true Greeks and Romans. Can't you tell? How about Thursday? Thursday's Thursday. And then Spanish is what? Jueves. Jupiter. That's when you call upon the great God of all the gods, Jupiter. And he is the one that reigns over all the gods. And if you want strength, if you want power, if you want authority, you got to please him. And if you're going to speak from a position of power authority, you want to do it on his day for his blessing. So every day, as a Roman, you must be faithful to serve each one of those gods. Go to their temple, give them a sacrifice, recognize them, and make sure that whole day is dedicated to them. Mercury, you send all your letters you're going to write. Thursday, you speak to those who you are the authority above. Or stand by and listen to the persons above you tell you things. Caesar spoke to all his armies on what day? When our commanding officer and commander-in-chief, the president of the United States, speaks to the nation, what day? Thursday, for all those who are underneath them. So the average American chooses on a Friday. But Thursday, if he's giving out orders and new laws, it will be done on a what? Thursday. Why? Because that's what Greeks and Romans do. Now, what's next? Friday. Oh, do you know what Friday is? Do you know? Venus Day. And what is Venus all about? She's not sitting there with her boobs hanging out and have, a thing draped off. She's not sitting like that for just, looks. Well, maybe for looks. But anyway, what I'm saying is she's the goddess of what? Love. That's right. So on Venus, you want to make sure that she and her little band of cupids come out there and hit everybody in the ass. Get things flying. Get things ignited. Get things moving. So you contact and you tell everybody you love them on what day? The ones you love and the ones you're enamored with. Right? You got to do it on a what? Friday. Yeah. I love you so much. I love you too. Oh. Right. So now what happens is after that comes what? I mean, how many have ever done that? When you contact your sweetheart, your novia or novio or your boyfriend or girlfriend or your attractive, you ever talk to each other? When you first start communicating, what day did he call you? Friday. It's just the way it is. Now comes, what's the next day? Saturday. Who's the enemy of Jupiter? Saturn. Right? Jupiter. Saturn. Right? So they're absolutely opposed, right? Jupiter wants to give order and stature, structure, and Saturn wants to tear it all up. So what we have is a day we don't want to piss him off, upset him. We want to make sure all the gods are happy. So on Saturday, how do you recognize Saturn? How do you give him worship? The rest of the week, you don't act stupid. You are very moral, very ethical. But on Saturday, you throw away all your ethics, all your morals, get drunk, and go crazy. That's what you do on Saturday. To honor who? Saturn. That's why once a year is the greatest one of all. There's a whole 14 days dedicated to Saturn. It's called Saturnalia, where everybody gets drunk. I mean, how many women here lost your virginity on a Saturday? I mean, you didn't lose it any other day of the week. It was Saturday.
Thursday.
How many men? I don't think so. That's not what women do it on a Saturday, man. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now. Right? You understand? Aren't you great Romans? Yes. How many men here ever got drunk? What day was it? Saturday. Right. What do you mean every day? Whose side do you want? All right. So now what happens? Now we got some really interesting situations here. Because now you've just pissed, you've made Saturn all right with you, right? Because you put on the lampshade and danced around naked and, got drunk, did all kinds of weird stuff. Now everything's fine with Saturn, but boy, you really upset Jupiter. How many do dumb and crazy stuff on Saturdays? I mean, I don't now. Well, not too much. But you understand? When I go diving, I usually go diving and do, sailing or whatever on a Saturday, just for fun. But what happens when you've now supported Jupiter's arch enemy, Saturn? By the way, Saturnalia is done in December. And on that day, everybody gets drunk. They go in and bring a tree from outside into their house, decorate it with gold and silver, and put the star of Saturn on top. And they give dedications to it. Guess what it's called? Today we call it Christmas. It has nothing to do with Christ. It has nothing to do with the Bible. Jesus wasn't born in December. What day was he born?
September.
That's right, September 3rd. You got it. That's correct. Okay, now Saturday comes up. Now okay, picture the day you really did something stupid, got drunk, did crazy stuff. What will you do now, Sunday? You apologize. Head for the temple of Apollo. You run to the temple of Apollo, and you quickly put your hand in the basin and splash water on yourself, on both shoulders, on your head, and on your chest. You enter into the temple, and you go and confess your sins to your what you did for Saturn, to the priest of Apollo, and then he'll take you to the altar, and they will sacrifice something, and he will give you a little wafer that you put in your mouth. And you do this before the sun rises, and as the sun rises, Apollo takes your request for forgiveness to Jupiter. Are we Roman Catholic? Are we Roman Catholic? Are we doing Roman religion still? Yes, we still are. Every day we're worshiping the Roman gods. Every day we're supporting them. Every day we honor them, and it's a part of our culture. It's a part of our thinking. It's a part of our priorities. What has it got to do with God? Absolutely what? Nothing. But Frank, I put the manger underneath the tree. That manger is all a lie. You don't put a newborn baby in a food trough. Put it in the mezzanine. That's where she gave birth. And there's a whole teaching on that, just on that alone. It's a 2-hour teaching, going into extreme detail. All right, so now comes what day? Monday. Now Jupiter looks down from Olympus and see if you really are remorseful, if you really feel bad about what you did. And you see people walk around, I go, what's wrong? It's Monday, man. It's Monday. Don't you understand? It's Monday. You got to look bad. You got to look bad. You all right? Yeah, it's fine. It's only Monday, man. Come on. What? That's what we're doing. Because we don't know if he's looking. Oh, I wish I hadn't got drunk. I wish I hadn't gotten an accident. I wish I hadn't sped. How many here went speeding? What day was it? And that's what you do on Monday as Jupiter looks down to see if you are remorseful. And then he forgives you, and as you go back and you check with the Apollo, at the sunset, then you check with the priest of Apollo, he says, your sins are forgiven. And you go, yeah. And you start again on what? Tuesday, all over again. How many ever got a ticket? All right? And what did the building look like? Now, in Rome, if you broke the law in Rome, like you crossed where you shouldn't have crossed, you jumped in front of a messenger, or you impeded some soldier, you got to pay a fine. And they gave you a mark, and you had to be pay that fine. Now, the problem about paying a fine is you had to go to Caesar's temple. And it had big old columns on it. And the guy there who was the priest of Jupiter was dressed all in black. We don't do that today, do we? Because we don't do that anymore. Yeah, we do. We're still Greeks and Romans. We still have the same attitude toward the gods, but we're doing it toward God, and we think it's the same, and it's not. Is this all making sense? Okay. So let's review some things concerning how the Greeks and their gods worked together. You never knew what the will of the gods were. In fact, you had no idea. Each one was different. Venus, she's weird. Mars, he always wants to fight. And then you have Jupiter, and then you have Mercury, and then it goes on and on and on. And the Mosny and Jupiter, and they brought forth this. That's funny. People say, oh, God gave me this gift of playing the piano. Where's that in the Bible? The gifts of the Spirit are playing the piano, writing poetry, singing songs. No, it doesn't say that at all. What is the graces? There are 9 graces. And if you get them, you pray to get the graces. Well, there's 3 major graces, and then there is what's called a... people say that, oh, you are my... What is that? What is that term? Anyway, they are descendants of Jupiter's other relationships. But nonetheless, that person is a muse. That's right, muse. So there are muses, right? And if a muse enters into you, if you get the spirit of the muse, and that's one of the 9 muses, you can play the piano, or you can sing, or you can act, or you have tremendous... All these things you can have if you let the spirit of them in you. And you pray to have that entered into you. You understand the problem? There's a lot of stuff that has nothing to do with the Bible. They never knew the will of their gods. You always wanted them to do something for you. And you had to figure out how to maneuver them. If you ever did the Iliad or the Odyssey, you read how Jason was able to outthink, right? So you never knew what the will of the gods were. You never knew. The only thing you could do is to look at the omens. And they would take the sheep, they would kill the sheep and take out its liver and look for an omen. They would also look for blocks of teas. They would actually see what was in, after you ate, what was left in the bowl to see they can tell your future, what was going on. You'd sacrifice animals to Jupiter and hopefully get a message from him in opening up and eviscerating a pig and checking out its liver. You understand the problem here? And today we go to God, God, give me a sign! That's not according to the Bible. You don't need signs. You've got the what? The Word. So today, everybody is not they call themselves Christians. They are not more Christians. That's why Jesus says, only the wicked seek after a what? A sign. Because they don't know God's Word, they're asking God to give them a special message in code, right? No. Omens reveal the Word. Only omens reveal what the will of the gods were, which is terrible. That's a terrible way to communicate. I'm going to mess with this cat or this dog, and I'm going to have you open it up to see what the message is. That's worse than a Chinese fortune cookie. All right, let me try it now. All right, there were no texts or scriptures, no Greek or Roman. The whole time, they never produced any scriptures for their gods. All there were legends, stories. They were made up, and they constantly changed according to the people receiving it. The person teaching would modify or change it accordingly. And also, the only other literature there is how to read omens. So you have no idea what the will of the gods were because no one can know. Yet, what does God's Word say? This is God's what? Will. But how many people read it? That's a sad, sad state. Okay, what was required to make the gods happy? Sacrifices and prayers and gifts were required to get their attention. Where do you get the Godfather from? From the Greek and Roman gods. Because that person is a Godfather, that means he makes you an offer you can't refuse. You go to him, you give him protection money, and he's going to protect you. You say, do this, and I'll do this for you, quid quo pro. And that's how you make the gods work for you. Does that fit the Bible? No. Mm-mm. So then that's what everybody wants today. They want a Godfather. Not God, a father, but Godfather. If one God didn't do what you wanted, then you could go to another God. Or outsmart them, or bargain with them. A lot of people say, if you don't want it, you can't get anything from Jupiter, go to Saturn. Saturn will help you. And I hear Christians today, well, if God won't help me, I'll go to Satan. Like, wait a minute, you're confusing two separate things here. They're not the same. You see, everybody thinks that, well, there's good and there's evil. No, there isn't. That's not how it works. There is God and then everything else on this side. And then we have to work from this side to him. Does that make sense? There is no like, you're caught in the middle. No, you're not in the dividing line. You're already off there. You were born without God. You have to gain God's knowledge and wisdom. Does that make any sense? But you gain it by doing it. How many women know how to cook? Nobody? Okay. Cooking is when you take things and you prepare them for food, right? Let me try it again. How many of you know how to cook? How many did a great job the first time? Tricia did a great job. I wouldn't eat it, neither would the dog. That gives you an idea. The first time, that's right. You cook? Thank God. All right. So if one God didn't do what you wanted, then you could go to the other, just like a little spoiled kid, right? Mommy, can I go? No. All right. Daddy, Mommy said I can go outside and play. What do you say? All right, go outside. Now, Mommy, Daddy said I can play. Right? You understand? You get them working against each other. Does that work with God? Nope. You can bargain with him. Well, if you do this for me, I'll do this for you. Nope. Wrong God. God won't acknowledge that. Won't even respond to it. Works with the Greek and Roman gods because they're not real. In the Greek and Roman culture, no personal, individual change or growth was necessary. You could stay the way you are, an asshole, the rest of your life, and it's okay. I'm sorry, if I offend you, let me know, okay? I'll do it less. I won't stop, I'll just do it less. All right, anyway. If you please the gods by extraordinary effort or accomplishments, then you could be a god and be worshipped. Did you hear what I said? Alexander the Great became a what? A god. Hercules, who preceded him, which was obviously not a god, but he was a descendant. You know how Jupiter was. He had a really promiscuous, a very healthy, he had a very strong libido, right? And very strong. He got it on with his aunt. He got it on with, never mind. Anyway, so Mnemosyne produces all that. Anyway, all these people could become gods if you did something extraordinary. So you have Alexander the Great. And then you have Caesar, Augustus. Caesar, Julius Caesar, which our Julian calendar is named after, he became what? God. Octavian was the son of God, and then he also became what? God. And then all the Flavius, that includes Vespasian, became what? God. And his son Titus became what? God. Got it? That's the best you can get. And you get a temple and a statue of you, and people pray to you. Wow. Or if you didn't make God status, you got to be a demigod, as most actors and gladiators became. You don't get a temple, but you do get a statue. And the statue is erected where the majority of people are to see your statue. And it'll be dedicated to put roses on your statue all the time, put garlands on you. Now let me show you. This is like I was going through the gladiators, like, oh my God, there's too many of them. But here's two of the heads of the statues of two of the top gladiators. They were the best. They made big statues out of them and put them in by the what do you call it, the Colosseum, right? They were the best of the gladiators. In fact, every arch was one of the great gladiators. Was in those arches, statues of them. So, if you were great at the amphitheaters, if you were a great actor, right, and you could project and you could act, then you could also be a demigod and have a statue made, and people would honor you. How many here want a statue made of yourself? No, I don't think that's right. We don't do that today, do we? Now understand, a demigod had special privileges. You can kill someone and get away with it. You could do things dishonest as long as it didn't interfere with your skill. You could be a real pervert, and it's okay as long as it didn't interfere with your skill. So if you were into the theater and you were an actor or you entertained people and you did something really, like one guy killed his wife and 2 children, it's like, hey, as long as it doesn't interfere with his work, it's okay. A few others were like really oddball weirdos. But anyway, understand the problem here. Are we Greeks and Romans? Do we adhere to that same crap? Do we have any athletic figures that killed their wife and killed others and got away with it? Do we have any entertainers that are weird and perverted? What culture are we? Greeks and Romans. Yeah. Oh boy. All right. So everybody get the idea here. I can go much longer on this, but I think we've got enough of this right now. Because I can go into really weird detail. Not that I admire that. All right. So now, after about 100 years after, well, let's start off with Constantine. Okay. Divus means God. Right? Divus Flavius Valerius Constantinus, or Constantine I, granted divinity to Jesus at the First Council of Nicaea in 325. You can't make someone a god unless you're a god. And because Constantine is a divus, he can make Jesus God. Now you know where that came from. When did he do this? Council of Nicaea, 325. What about all the Eastern people that weren't part of the Roman Empire from the East? They never made it in time. Remember, everybody at that time went in a screaming speed of what? 1.25 miles an hour. So he called it, they couldn't make it in time, so all the people from the East, Eastern culture, the same culture as Jesus, couldn't show up. And because the Greek and Roman culture is so embedded in them, they said, well, we make Jesus God. And it's even worse. By the way, here's a picture of him. Isn't he wonderful? Look, he's just absolutely gorgeous guy. He's huge, the statue is. So what happened after that, from that point on, he brought all worship into the Roman Empire under his authority. There was no worship of any gods without his authority and his direction, because he is Divinus on earth, where we get the word Pope from. The papal authority all came from him. Bring all the worship into the Roman Empire under his authority, and began building Christian temples. What does the Bible say about temples? Not these things, that's not a temple. I'm talking about temples. They never existed before. Why? Because they worshipped in the what? Homes. You look at the first writings, the first 3 here, besides Tertullian, before Tertullian, that is all these here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Especially this one right here, Clement of Alexandria. They held their fellowships and taught people where? In the home. Where am I teaching the word at? In the home. Oh, I'm doing it just like the Bible. Yeah. Well, according to the academics, I am a primitive Christian. Where's my bone for my nose? Right. I'm a primitive Christian because I haven't been modernized. I haven't been brought up to speed. No. This does not need improving. This is not an aid to devotion. This is the scriptures. This is why we live by every word of God. This is not a simple relic, which is what the Roman Catholic Church calls it. It's obsolete. It's irrelevant. You don't have to go by this. I go, excuse me? I go by this. Man shall not live by bread alone, but every word of God, and if he's my Lord, I go and go by what he says, and this is it. But if you ask a Roman Catholic about it, you don't dare look at the Bible if you're a Roman Catholic. How many were brought up Roman Catholic? What happens when you grab the Bible? You got punished. You're not allowed to read it. And if you tell the nun you read it, what does she do? Get punished. You touched a Bible. You read the Bible. Can't do that. It's off limits. It's a relic. You're not supposed to actually read it. Well, I read it. I was a hellion in catechism. I have a question. I got a ruler back of my head. I got a ruler across my hands. Yeah. Anyone else here broad Roman Catholic besides me? Anyone go to catechism? Tell me I'm wrong. Did you ever ask, why are we bowing down to statues? Can I ask this question when the Bible says no? And they go, where did you learn that? And I'm like, it's in the Bible. Did you watch that blasphemous movie, The Ten Commandments? All right, okay. So, yeah, I watched it. That was pretty cool. Jonathan, what was his name? Heston? What was his name? Heston? Huh? Charlton Heston? I assure you, Moses didn't look like that, and Moses always kept a veil over his face. You couldn't see his face. But that would ruin Charlton Heston's acting, so they kept the veil off. But no one saw his face, because it glowed at night. It glowed. So they put the mask to cover the glowing. Just so you'd know about that. Okay. So let's now review what the Word says compared to the combined, like I don't know if you watch Star Trek where they got the Borg. We will assimilate. Well, that's the Roman Empire. It assimilated everything, right? They thought that they were going to be the whatever. So they merged all the religions into one, and then when Christianity came up, there can be no religion except under the authority of Caesar, so he just scarfed it up. So we need to know what this book said, right? Now, I go by the King James Version, yes or no, right? That doesn't mean I don't have the Greek and Roman text. I don't have the Aramaic text. I do. But let me tell you, the King James it's not perfect, but man, of all the stuff, it's awesome. And it's the only one that tells you in italics they added a word where you can't tell by any other version. And is it helpful if you find out when someone adds a word? The answer is what? Yes. It's not part of the original text. All right, so let's take this down. Let's bring it over there. Over here. Right here. Okay. All right, now, one of the biggest problems is Numbers 23:19. God is not a what? Man. He's not. What does that mean? Not a man. Can a man be God? No, he cannot. God is not a man that he should lie. What do men do? How many ever went fishing? How many came and told someone you went fishing? How big do you say the fish was? How many went to Las Vegas? How many gambled? How many came back and told people exactly how much you lost? No, it broke even, man. Broke even. Everybody breaks even in Las Vegas. Honey, do you think I look good in this dress? You better say yes. Truth is also inconvenient, right? All right. God is not a man that he should lie, neither the Son of Man that he should repent. Means change his mind. Hath he said, shall he not do it? Or hath he spoken, shall he not make it good? Well, most people have no idea what he said, and they have no idea if it's going to happen or not. They don't know anything about it. Yes or no? Everybody says it's the end of the world. Is it the end of the world or the end of an epic? Epic. Where are we heading into? The next book, right? Just like it says. All right. Hosea 6:6. For I desired mercy and not sacrifice. Wait a minute. God doesn't want any sacrifices? Does God want sacrifices? No. No. For I desired mercy. Mercy is seen from whose perspective? God. I see you from God's perspective. You see me from God's perspective. And we have respect. We have care and concern for one another. I like that. For I desired mercy, seen from God's perspective, and not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God. Where are you going to find the knowledge of God? Where are you going to find His knowledge? There's only one place. More than burnt offerings. Oh, God, I don't have time to burn offerings. I want to work your word. Right on. That's right on. Well, I haven't got time for sacrifices. I want to just do your word. All right on, right on. Got it. Who requires this? Men. Did you sacrifice this? Did you give up this? Did you do that? You don't have to do that. I had people that were alcoholics, right? Really intense alcoholics. And they kept saying, I'm an alcoholic. I go, really? Okay. Can you save me? I'm like, I understand saving you. I'm going to give you the word. See what you do with it. But one of the things that happens with the word is it changes your perception of what? Reality. And then correspondingly changes your what? Does everybody understand how that works? I know you're new here. Does that make any sense to you? Totally? Okay. Imagine this guy falls in love with a girl. That happens a lot, all right? Falls in love with her. And they're huggy, kissy, kissy, and that, it works out really, really good. And, that they take turns tickling each other's fancy. But all of a sudden, he gives her a hug and kiss, and she whispers in the ear, I'm pregnant. Now, what happens to his reality at this point? It's like, now it's no longer fun and games. It gets what? It's serious now. He's got to make a decision. Does he keep his identity and his perception of reality, or does he change? That's the hardest part. And women have the same situation when they find out they're pregnant. Do I want to change that reality, or do I want to keep it and become a mother? See the situation. When we're facing challenges, what makes us grow is not only not running from them, but taking them on and growing as an individual. Does that make any sense? Where's God? Well, if we're going to do it, we go to God, and God says, yes, do it. Then you do what He says. God says, doesn't give you an answer, then wait until He does. That means there's other things involved. For I desire mercy, seeing from God's perspective. Who especially? You! See yourself from whose perspective? God's. Not from your dingwa aunt, uncles, brothers and sisters, neighbors. It doesn't matter what they think. What does God say about you? Change your reality accordingly and accept that reality. Accept that identity. You don't need sacrifices. You don't need burnt offerings. You need to change your perception of what? Reality, and adapt your identity. So what does God require? Knowledge of God. That's number one, knowledge. Isaiah 66:1. Thus saith the Lord, the heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool. Where the hell is my house that you would build for me? I paraphrase that, excuse me. Where is the house that ye build unto me, and where is the place of my rest? God don't dwell in boxes. Greeks and Romans are really into boxes. Look, are we not in a box right now? How many came here in a box with four wheels? How many left a box to get in that box? And then if you have to go to the bathroom, you run into another what? Box. And then when you get home and you get back into that box, you want to jump in the bed, which is just another what? Box. And then when you die, what happens? You go into another box. And if you get a dog, you got to definitely put him into a what? A box. Every woman doesn't want to receive a ring in a bag. It's got to be in a box. You don't want to receive presents in a bag. You want to receive it in a box. Are we true Greeks and Romans or what? Oobah, right? Thus saith the Lord, the heaven is my throne and the earth is my footstool. Where is the house that you will build? You can't build God a temple. He's not going to fit in there. Acts 17:24. I really want you to know this, right? Listen carefully to what it says. God that made the world and all things therein, seeing that He's Lord of heaven and earth, dwelleth not in temples made with what? Then where is he? If he's not in a physical building that someone built, a box with a little bell on it, then where is he?
Everywhere.
And especially in those who have his heart, his perception of reality, and the identity that he says they have. That's where he's at. Thank you. All right, is this making sense? You see a big difference between Roman religion? Do you really think, when you stop and you think about who made up Zeus? Somebody. Who made up Hera? Somebody. Who made up Neptune? Somebody. Who made up all these gods? Somebody. Who made up Santa Claus? Somebody. Who made up Easter Bunny? Somebody. There's a problem. You got to have faith for Santa Claus. Yeah, okay. Is there a book, How to Have Santa Claus? Is there a book somewhere about how to worship Santa Claus properly? Maybe a glass of milk, some cookies? How do you do it? Does he come through the window or does he come through the chimney? Now you got to have faith to believe in Santa Claus. You got to have faith to believe in Easter Bunny. And you got to have faith to believe in the Tooth Fairy. And you got to have faith to believe in Neptune and Jupiter and Venus, because all those are not what? Not real. I was talking to a 15-year-old. His parents were getting ready to turn him over to juvenile hall, and so they gave him to me for a couple of days. That was really interesting. So I sat him down and we talked, and he says, look, I don't want to hear this Jesus crap. I go, really? Okay. He goes, I know it's not true. I said, really? He said, come on. Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, Jesus, it's all the same. What do we do? The default assumption. Because the other two are bad, the third one also has to be what? No, I don't recognize Santa Claus. Nope. Don't send me a Christmas present. Don't want them. Really, I don't. I don't have any trees. If you like a tree, that's cool. You can have a tree. Put the star of Saturn up there, call wherever you want to. You mean you got to teach kids right. Teach them about Santa Claus and Jesus and Easter Bunny and Jesus. Then when they grow up, they find out Santa Claus isn't not true. They find out Easter Bunny's bullshit. Then obviously Jesus Christ has to be in the same category because they're always heard together. Isn't that wonderful? Jeremiah 9, 23 and 24. Thus saith the Lord, let not the wise ass, excuse me. Thus saith the Lord, let not the wise man. What happens when you have God's word and you start to apply it and learn it? What do you get? You get knowledge and what? Wisdom. And people go, my God, you are so brilliant. It happens all the time, right? Me, brilliant. But nonetheless, people think I'm really, really smart. Look, it's not me. It's 8,000 years of wisdom. 8,000 years of knowledge. 8,000 years of understanding. All I got to do is, they went through the hell. They paid for it. They paid the tuition. I don't have to. And they're right every single time. The world has changed, but people are still the same as they were 8,000 years ago. They're still the same. Let not the wise man glory in his wisdom. Let not the mighty man glory in his might. What happens when you stand for God? You get wisdom, you get might, which means authority and power, influence. Let not the rich man glory in his riches. These are the three things in Proverbs as you get as you do the word. That's exactly what's there, that you can prosper in bad times. Well, you don't have to worry about it. We got plenty of good times ahead. No, you do not. There are no good times. The good times are past. If you don't apply the word right now, you're going to benefit if you apply it right now. You see, from God's perspective, God will elevate you. If you don't, then you're going to go by the wayside. Got to take it serious. Time of games is over. We're heading into a really bad time, but that's what the Bible's made for. Did David have a good time fighting the Philistines? Did the Israelites have fun while they were slaves in Egypt? It's a book of bad times, not good times. How to prosper, how to dominate in a situation of immense duress. There's a reason why my Bible looks like this. I hope yours does too. This is my 7th Bible, by the way. All right. So what do you get when you do God's word? You get what it says here. You get glory, you get might, you get riches and wisdom, right? Isn't that wonderful? That's exactly what it says in Proverbs. But let him that glorieth, don't let him glory in those things. Don't get caught up in the things and forget about God. Who did that? Job. Job did that. All this wealth, all this position, all he had, and he just happened to forget about who? He forgot he was the referee. He just didn't have time for God's word anymore. And he lost what? Everything. But let him that glorieth glory in this, that he understands and knoweth me, that I am the Lord, which exercise loving kindness. That's, all right, you ever go through the Old Testament and look at all the loving kindness that God did? Is there something wrong with this verse? I don't see him being very loving and kind to the Philistines or to the Egyptians, not even to his own people. What is it talking about? God doesn't have loving kindness. That's really a bad translation. What he says you are, even when you don't act like it. And he will still back you up if you get back on track as if it never happened. That's what that's all about. But a sentence that long is too hard to put. They just translate loving kindness. Just like a parent. If you tell your child what to do, and they won't do it, and they won't do it. No, I don't want to do it. All right, what are you going to do? Right? Time out. In your room, lock the door, you're there. You're going to stay there until you act right. Once they act right, what happens to what they did wrong? Forget about it. They're back on track. Got it? You don't reward bad actions, which I did to my brother and made him bad. See the problem? All right, which exercising loving kindness, judgment. Well, who else is supposed to be exercising judgment? Who else is supposed to be exercising judgment? All right. There's the rule book. Come on. You're supposed to see things from God's perspective, God's priorities, see from his, and have his value system. Okay, that's what this is talking about. All right, judgment. Who else is supposed to be representing God and giving judgment? All right, good. Let him that glorieth glory in this, that he understands and knoweth me, that I am the Lord, with exercising loving kindness and judgment. Who do that? All right. And righteousness, that's being right with God. Who do that? Occasionally, right? Occasionally. We're secret agents for God. We don't let anyone know about it. Except me, I got a bad mouth. I got to tell everybody. Anyway. In the earth, for these things I delight in the Lord. So if you judge as God judges, and you have God's perspective, God's value system, and you walk in his righteousness, that's all God asked for. No sacrifice is required. Don't worry about your dumb stuff you did before. It no longer counts. Okay, let's say it counts. Let's say your bad things count. Ready? I'm going to take you all over to see my mommy. We're all sitting there at dinner. Music's playing, good food. My mom's all and greeting you and saying hi to you. And then right in the middle of it, she says, you know what? I got to show you something. I'm like, what's going on? She goes back in the room and she pulls out a bedspread. She goes, look at this. He wet the bed when he was 6. Look at the stain. Would you think I was weird for wetting the bed at 6? No. You would think she was weird for bringing it out. Anyone who brings up your past is not of God. God don't remember your past. It happened, but God's not bringing it back to mind. So why should you? Because you're smarter than God. No, you're not. God says it's taken care of, it's gone. Now you let it go. Luke 4:4, and Jesus answered him, saying, it is written that man shall not live by bread alone, but every word of what? God. Is this important? Yes. What are we after? Knowledge, wisdom, and what? Understanding. All right, now, we can't just have faith. We have to understand what's going on. We have to see from God's perspective. We have to prove it for ourselves. We have to keep building it until we get to the point of our maximum capacity. All right, Psalm 1-6 deals with a man by the name of David. Remember David? You guys are old. Okay, now, all right, so being David, how did David take out the lion? How did he take out the bear? How did he take on Goliath? How do you take out the greatest opposition in your life? The same way he did. By having faith. No, no, no. You can watch all the Marvel movies you want, but don't even think that you're a super, whatever those guys are. Super Looney Tune. Right, Psalm 1-6. Ready? Blessed. Now we know what blessed means. I taught it to you. What's blessed? Right, getting revelation from God, according to Jesus defining it, right? That walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly. Well, how many people you know give you advice? Everybody. And when people give you advice, how often you go to the Bible to check it out? How many remember when you were like 7 or 8 years of age? Anyone here? Remember that? Okay. Remember when you were in school and the big talk when you were 11 and 12 years old was sex? And you wanted to know about it, but were afraid to ask anybody, so you asked your friends who absolutely knew nothing about it to begin with. And they're going to tell you all about it, which they knew nothing either. Why don't you ask an adult? Never occurred to you. You don't want them to know you don't know, which is like, what? But you see, the problem is that you can't. That's ridiculous. But that's what we do. We run around and ask people who know absolutely nothing, have no wisdom, no experience, no understanding. They pretend they do, but they don't. I got more problems believing what someone told me than someone with experience. So I don't listen to anybody unless they can really show that they can do it. All right. Blessed the man that walketh in the counsel of the ungodly. God is walketh not. That's like walketh not, right? Nor standeth in the way of sinners. Sinners is different than you and I think. It just means someone who says there is no God. That's the context of this. I mean, that happened back then? Yes. Nothing's changed. If you can't see it, can't smell it, can't taste it, it's not there. The absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Understand? Just because there's no evidence physically doesn't mean it's not there. Nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. People complain all the time. You like being around people who complain? God, get a cork in it. All right. But his delight, right? That's delight. What do you delight in? Is there anything you really delight in? I mean, some of you are like, yeah, you're all excited about it. Yeah, I love this stuff. Okay, you want to tell anybody it's a secret, I understand. Okay. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he read 1 hour a week. $1 hour a month? On Christmas Day. No, it says what? In his law doth he what? Not just read, meditate on it. Day and night. Now, I tried doing that. I kept falling asleep at night. Couldn't maintain it. Meditate day right? You meditate all day on something. Guess what happens when you go to sleep? Can't stop, can't get out of your head. You dream about it. How many got so impacted with the word, it was so exciting that you had dreams about it? It happens to me a lot. I had this weird dream that it's like really weird. And all of a sudden I heard this big blast of a horn. I went, what is that? And I ran out the front door, and all of a sudden I was weightless. I started rising in the sky. I go, this is cool. And I woke up. I go, ah. It was a cool dream. But you understand, when you meditate on something day and night, you wind up, it winds up in your what? Your dreams. And that's exactly what David. And I was able to pinpoint exactly what he was studying. Judges. Samson. That's why he wanted to take on the whole Philistine army all by himself. Just like his hero, Samson. I remember when you were like a little skinny guy. Not anymore. Anyway, does that make sense? What you meditate day and night is what you become, what you meditate all day on. You ever notice that the things you think about? I have people go, I have these terrible nightmares. I go, really? Oh, this is terrifying. What did you do? What did you do during the day? Oh, I went to a movie. What movie did you go to? Slasher movie? You went to a slasher movie? Was your nightmare about slash? Yeah, how'd you know? Never mind. All right. People, you can't be any greater than what you feed yourself. What goes in is what comes what? Is this all making sense? I'm encapsulating the whole last year of teaching here. Compacting it. Making it interesting and provocative. Okay. It should be provocative. All right. You're still with me. Because after this, and you got it, I'm going to give you a test. I'm going to let you do the research. I'm just going to put the verses up there, and you're going to research it. You're going to answer my questions, or you can't leave the house. I'm joking. But his delight is in the law, and in the law doth he meditate day and night. He should be like a tree planted by the rivers of water. Ooh. This is a desert. Remember, desert? Can you imagine sitting in a dry desert and your tootsies in the water? In the river passing by, you can feel the water over your feet. It's really, really hot, and your feet are in the water. It's nice and cool. Can you feel that? That he brings forth his fruit in due season. Whatever your capacity is, whatever your destiny is, what it is you're designed to do, your destiny, God will bring it to pass. His leaf, that which proceeds from you, your labors, shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall what?
Prosper.
You can't help but prosper, because all your thinking, all your decisions, all your judgments are based on that which you meditated during the day. The ungodly, the undisciplined, people just going by wild emotions, are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Remember what chaff is? You break the wheat, and it looks just like wheat, except it's hollow, because it was the shell of the wheat, and you crack it, and then you have the chaff, which is just, it looks like the seed, but it's hollow inside, and then there's the real seed. They look identical. One, you just go, and out it goes. The other one's the wheat. Got it? The chaff blows away. There's no weight to it. There's nothing there, which the wind driveth away. Therefore, the ungodly shall not stand in judgment, nor sinners, those who don't say there's a God, in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall what? Perish. Everybody got this? These are the principles. Proverbs 2:6. For the Lord giveth what? Wisdom. Out of his mouth cometh what? Knowledge. And what? All right, those are your three things. Knowledge, wisdom, and what? All right, I have knowledge that a bike can be ridden on two wheels. How do I get wisdom? I know I can see someone doing it. They rode on that bicycle. I now have it. How do I get the wisdom? put this bouquet in the seat, right, and pedal my ass off, right, and just keep going. And I will happen. Fall down. Fall down, fall down, fall down, fall down, not so falling down, almost fall down, stand up, get it going, and then I get it. I gained what? Wisdom. What does it mean when you can, what have you gained if you can put up a wheelie on it? You got understanding. If the chain falls off, you put the chain back on. You can change a tire. You've got what? Understanding. If you can make it better, you've got what? Understanding. You see the difference? Okay. 3 words. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding. Okay. Now, this is Psalms. This is what David wrote. And it's important that you get it. I know I've reiterated it. I'm going to bring it right to the point here. How I love thy law. Now, these are the 3 points. Because when you're dealing with, if I come into the Bible and I want to sit there and say, inside here is 8,000 years of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. How do I get it from here into here? Oops, sorry about that. How do I get it in there? How do I get it in there? Put my sleep on it. No, it doesn't do anything. How do I get it in there? I can't kill a Goliath. I'm not building an ark. What are we doing here? How do I get this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of 8,000 years in this Liberty brain? Doing what? Doing the Sabbath? Doing the sacrifice? What is it? What is it you're supposed to do? Do the word. Okay, what am I supposed to do? You read it. What are you looking for? What are you looking for? Okay. This is David revealing his secrets to you. This is wisdom and understanding concerning how to get knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Is that cool? That's what Psalms is all about. Mem, that's the sound that sounds like a m sound in the Hebrew. It's actually a letter. Every one of the letters of the Hebrew alphabet have 8 verses for each letter. M is like mother. M is for the many ways, that kind of thing. Each letter stands for something. So every Psalm, Psalm 119, has 8 verses on each letter of the Hebrew alphabet. That's why that's why the Psalm's so big. All right. How I love that law is my meditation all the what? Why doesn't it say night? Because if you're doing it all day, you're going to wind up doing it what? At night. Thou through thy commandments hast made me wiser than my enemies. Notice it's the commandments has made me wiser than, for they are ever with me. The commandments make you what? Wise. I have more understanding than all my teachers. How many want understanding? For reason, thy testimonies are my what? What's he meditating on? The testimonies. That's not a masculine thing. A testimony just means what they're saying, an account of someone's life, seeing them make the mistakes so that you don't make the same mistakes. Got it? Why am I teaching you this? So that you don't get caught up in religion. God won't acknowledge you if you're going to flip back into the Roman religion. It's not something you do like people say, no, what do I got to do? It hasn't been doing anything. It has anything to do with changing your thinking, what you value, what is your priorities, how are you seeing life, how you see yourself. I understand more than the ancients because I keep thy precepts. What's the difference between a commandment, the law, and the precepts? They're not the same thing. I know in Spanish it says that. Every time I saw that in Spanish, I'm like, no, but they did like that. What's the difference between what's the difference between a precept, a law, and a commandment? Don't you ever wonder about these things when you read the Bible? Or do you read it? So you're coming like, what's it? They're not the same thing. How many here took law in college? Anyone take any law? Corporate law? Business law? All right. Because I keep thy precepts. All right. This is that the understanding is what we're after. Knowledge we get. Wisdom is applying it, but understanding is in the what? Precepts, and that's what you meditate on. That's what I meditate on. All right? Okay, ready for the example? Everybody ready? Okay, here we go. Because after this, it's test time. We're going to actually throw you into the manuscripts, and I'm going to sit back and test you. You ready? Here we go. In the United States, do we have laws? Yes. Do we have commandments? Yes. Do we have precepts? Yes. What's the difference? Ready? You go into a cul-de-sac, right? At dead-end street. Okay, cul-de-sac. What's the speed limit there?
15.
15 miles an hour, right. What is the speed limit in the school zone?
25.
What's the speed on the freeway?
65.
Why is it different? Why don't you just make a law for everything?
Not safe.
Won't work. So you have a commandment. Thou shalt not speed. And then you set up the speed limits, which are law. Commandments precede what? Laws. Thou shalt not speed. That's the commandment. And then what's speeding in this cul-de-sac? That's 15 miles an hour. What's speeding in the school zone? What's speeding on the freeway? So the commandment is thou shalt not what? Speed. All right, what's the precept then? Drive what? Now understand, why can you say that? Because you can get a ticket for what? Speeding. But you can also get a ticket for not wearing a seatbelt. Now how is that bad? Because it's not what? Safe. You can get a ticket for texting. Why? Because it's not what? Safe. What is the precept behind the laws? To drive what? Safely. That's all the laws are for. So the commandment is thou shalt drive safely. The law states what? Speed limits. No texting. Wearing a seatbelt. Right? Also safety is thou shalt not walk across the street without a crosswalk. Again, see, that's where you want the safety. Safety for things and people's lives. Right. So understanding that, you go, okay, not the law. You don't meditate on the law. You meditate on the what? Precepts. You don't meditate on the commandment. You meditate on the what? Precepts. Has everybody got that? So when you see David, account of David, which is a testimony, you sit back and see him applying what? Precepts, commandments, or laws? Precepts. When Jesus sent his disciples out to pick corn on the Sabbath day, which is part of the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not work on a Sabbath day, how come he didn't get stoned? Because every day is for God, yes? At least 1/10 of the day. That's 2 hours and 40 minutes. Yes? 1/10? And if you don't do anything for God that whole week, at least give him 1 day, that whole day for him. So Jesus Christ give God 100% every single day? So what do you need a Sabbath day for? Didn't. Does that make sense? People say, well, did Jesus tithe? He didn't give 1/10 of what he had. Everything was for God. See the difference? He didn't need to tithe because his life was the tithe. Everything he had, he gave. I understand more than the ancients because I keep thy precepts. I've refrained my feet from every evil way, that I may keep thy word. I refrain my feet. Oh, an evil way. Ah, man, I'm so glad I didn't step in it. The way path is just, it's giving a physical example that, in the Bible times, you didn't just walk alone. There were like horses and camels and oxen that also walked, and they left little presents on the ground, little round warm patties. And once in a while when you're walking in your sandal feet, right? Oh, no. But you just walk over the 7-Eleven and no, there were no 7-Elevens. I understand it was very important when you went into someone's house, they always washed your feet before you went in the house. It's very important. You don't want that smell permeating your home. Let me wash your feet for you. All right. So that's feet means your thoughts, right? Proverbs chapter 4, 5. Flee from every evil way that I may keep thy word. Thy word, thy word, thy word. No word, you don't got anything. I have not departed from thy judgments for reason thou hast taught me. He treated the word of God as if God himself was teaching him. Wow. That's really accepting Theopneustos, God breathing now. Remember that? Close your eyes. Breathe in his ear. Can you tell? Can you tell someone's there? Okay. God's that close to feel his breath. If you can feel his breath, that's him breathing right now when he speaks. Okay. How sweet are thy words to my taste. She's sweeter than honey to my mouth. Through thy precepts. What does it say? Precepts. I get what? Now you understand what you focus on. What you look for, the what? Precepts. Does that make sense? The testimonies are there. Learn from their what? Mistake. So you don't wind up paying extra. What do you call it when you go to college? The extra tuition for the same course. So I've been paid for it. I buy it again. Therefore, I hate every false way. And man, I hate every false way. I hate false ways. Okay. But now we're going to take a break first. How was your lunch? Did you enjoy your lunch? All right. Now, what we're going to be doing, this is the test. So you got to, I want you to have knowledge, wisdom, and what? Understanding. You need what you need to meditate on. It's not the laws, not the commandments, but the what? The precepts. That's what's going to give you understanding. So that you can truly do all that God has called you to do. All right. Now, what's the oldest part of the Bible? Proverbs. Now, Proverbs, you find Proverbs in the ancient parts of India. You find it in Persia, and you find it in Egypt. So, Proverbs, not all the Proverbs, but these were given before there was the pharaohs. There was called the shepherd kings of Egypt, and these were called shepherds, not of sheep, but of God's people, before they were overtaken by the Hyksos. But when you really look at all the scope of this, God's going back in time, going back to 10,000 years. There were those that walked with God, and that's another class. But nonetheless, the basic precepts are given in the book of Proverbs. So you start off like a seed, and the seed grows into a tree. Well, the whole Bible is that tree, and it goes down into the seed, which is Proverbs. Now, I finished my research book on Proverbs because it's not complete, because Proverbs is built on 7 pillars, and I finished the work. I got the book and getting ready to send it to the printers. So my next book will be on that. So you'll have that if you wish. We're going to try and translate it in Spanish, and we'll try and break it into have it paperback, and those if you want a hardbound. Sound pretty cool? It's really, no one's done any research on this. I mean, nothing, zero. Bollinger, Barth, Canyon, Pillai, none of these guys have had anything. Pillai opened up a lot of Orientalisms, but no one has actually worked it. I've just taken all it's not that I'm so great, it's that their knowledge is so great, and I just used it and compiled it. I guess you could call them an aggregator. Not aggravating, aggregator. It's a different word. Anyway, are you ready for the test?
Yes.
Y'all look so excited, all right? If you don't know the answers, you get to stay here and stay the night. Okay. All right, 1 Kings 17, 2 through 7. Now, I want you we're going to see knowledge, We're going to see wisdom, and we're going to see understanding. And it should give you doctrine, reproof, and what? Correction. That's the only reason you come into the Bible, so that you can have the maximum of your destiny and manifestation. I'm not God. I'm not coming between you and God. My job is to help you get closer to God so that you can manifest. I love it when people walk up to me like today. I had people walk in the door and say, Frank, guess what happened? What happened? And I go, what? And they tell me, and I'm like, oh, wow. I mean, people are having really exciting lives because they're not alone. They're not alone. Because if you have God's thoughts, God's images, God's priorities, where's God? You're acting like a magnet drawing him to you. And God's not complaining. And if you're dwelling on meditating day and night, if you're meditating all day, then you become the dwelling place of who? God, because his thoughts, his images, his word is in you. Got it? They're very important. Okay. And then you become this becomes the temple of who? God, a living temple, not a brick one. All right, 1 Kings 17. By the way, I should explain about prophets. When you become so sharp in the Old Testament that everything you say and do is exactly documented from God's word, and everything is from God's perspective, you get the name of God, right? So when we're dealing with Elijah, it's Eli, which is my God, and the word Jehovah, which is one of God's names. So Elohim is introduced in Genesis, the creator, and then Jehovah is the covenant that God makes with people. So as a result, this prophet was so sharp, his name was what? God's two names combined, Elijah. Eli is, when you hear Jesus say, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, that's my God, my God. So Eli is my God, Jehovah. So that's what his name is. Because he is, in all respects, by what he says and what he does, he is as God. Got it? So that's why the prophets are called God, or any messenger of God is called God. Not that they're God. How many write a cell phone? Right? All right. Do you say, Mr. Cell Phone, would you tell that person? No, you don't do that, right? You just address the person, and the cell phone takes your words and gives it to the person in your voice. That's not your voice coming out of a cell phone. Not your voice. It's a reproduction done by the cell phone. Does everybody understand that? All it is electric signals that are moving a magnet that changes a little speaker that duplicates what the ear hears. That's all it is. So the cell phone is just speaking the words that were given to it, exactly the way it was given. So when you're speaking for God, people can and occasionally do call you God, which is kind of stay cool, just keep it going, and you just carry out what God says. Don't let it distract you. Make sure they understand that you're not God, right? You're just speaking for who? You ever called your cell phone sweetheart? Right? You ever done that? When you're talking to her on the phone.
Yes. I talked to her this week.
What do you call it? When you're talking to her on the phone, what are you telling the cell phone? Oh, I love you. Love the cell phone?
Yeah, the cell phone.
Yeah, right.
The cell phone gives her a kiss.
Yeah, that's right.
It goes through.
But if people didn't know that, they think you had this thing for your cell phone, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
That's why
But you understand, this is where the situation comes in. When people who stand for God are called, like, for instance, when you go into, it happened to me when I was in Malaysia. I taught the word there. And everybody just got up and bowed. And it was really uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Because it's, okay. And I had to kind of work with that. I don't know if you ever had that happen. It will. As you're teaching, if you're with people who really respect God, what happens is you teach and you really bless them a lot, and they just put their heads to the ground. I had the same thing happen with Muslims and with people from India. They think I'm speaking for God, which I am, but not me. It's, God. God gets the glory, not me. I don't make a frog. I can't make an earth, right? I don't make light. But understand, you stay cool. You don't get an ego about this. It has nothing to do with you. Except you're the one that keeps, and you speak for God. A lot of times God will show you what's wrong with a person, and you ask God what to do, and then he tells you, just what? Do it. Don't question it. Don't second think it. Just act on that, what God shows you. Okay? Okay, cool. All right. 1 Kings 17, 2 through 7. Now, and the word of the Lord came unto him. Him who? This is Elijah. Why is God only talking to him? He can listen. All right. How do you know if someone is of God who's never heard the word of God? If they hear their name and there's nobody there. Let me show you. Let's go into Samuel. Remember, the Bible gives you knowledge, wisdom, and what? How to apply it. So how do you know if someone's... How many here have ever heard your name and there was no one there? Raise your hand. Right? See? That's how you know someone's of God. Because if there was someone there, then it would be no big deal. But if there's no one there, and you've heard your name, and you're sure you've heard your name, and there was no one there, well, that's what the Bible tells you is all about. You'll find that they're usually going through you were going through some really intense times, and God was trying to guide you, and you didn't know how to respond. So, and then go into Samuel, chapter 3. 1 Samuel chapter 3. And the child Samuel, he's just 12 years old, child Samuel ministered unto the Lord before Eli. Eli is, what is Eli? Remember? Aramaic? My God, right. So that's the prophet. So it happens to be the high priest. He's doing it. He's taking care of it. So that's his name. And the word of the Lord was precious. That means rare. Nobody was teaching it. And there was no open vision, no one getting revelation, no one God talking to openly. It came to pass at that time, now who was supposed to get revelation? Eli, right? But he don't hear from God. And it came to pass at that time that Eli was laid down in his place, and his eyes began to wax dim, and he could not see. And ere the lamp of God, who's supposed to keep the lamp of God going? It's symbolic. Eli is supposed to, representing the presence of God. In the temple of the Lord, where the ark of God was, and Samuel was laid down to sleep. Verse 4, and the Lord called Samuel, and he answered, Here am I. And he ran unto Eli. And he said, Here am I, for thou didst call me. And he said, I called not. Lay down again. And he went to lay down. The Lord called yet again, Samuel. And Samuel rose and went to Eli and said, Here I am, for thou didst call me. And he answered and said, I called not, my son. Lie down again. Samuel did not yet know the Lord. No one had taught him how to receive revelation. Neither was the word of the Lord yet revealed unto him. No teachings, no skill, no knowledge, does not know how to talk to God, or God to receive God's revelation. And the Lord called Samuel again the third time. And he arose and went to Eli and said, Here am I, for thou didst call me. Why is it important 3 times? God will call you 3 times, and if you don't answer, he will not call you again. Got it? If you're so far out there that you're not listening to God, God will do a little special thing for you. You will hear your name. And there'll be no one there. It's that time to get quiet and go to God. It's okay. I hear you, Father. What do I need? And you usually go, what does God give you? Knowledge, wisdom, or what? And usually in the form of doctrine, reproof, or what? Spanking, right? Correction. All right. And he arose and went to Eli and said, Here am I, for thou didst call me. And Eli perceived that the Lord had called the child. What is the wisdom? What's the understanding there? To receive, if you haven't had no teaching and there's no word, if you hear your name called, then you are called of God. And you should be taught the word. So when you're talking to people and they've heard their name called, then you need to take responsibility and help them understand the word that they need to have, so that God can work with them. Got it? Okay. Surprisingly, all the people you find are really spiritually sharp are the ones that, before they knew the word, they kept hearing their name called all the time. Me is one of them. Which I was like, wow! See, the Bible's there for your doctrine, reproof, and what? To give you knowledge, wisdom, and what? Understanding. All right, so now let's pretend that you're Elijah. All right? Now, Ahab wants you dead, which is kind of like, if someone wants you dead, what do? Go get a, gun and shoot them before they shoot you? No, you don't do that. You ask God what to do. God's much smarter than anyone you know, including yourself. Right? So, and the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, Ahab and his wonderful wife are there trying to kill him, which happens to be the king and queen. And God wipes him out. No, God doesn't wipe him out. God doesn't destroy him. He just get thee hence. Why doesn't God just fix him? It's not an option. It's not how it works. God's much smarter than we are. He knows what he's doing. I don't argue with him. That's what he wants. Do it his way. I'd just rather put a bullet between their eyes. No. It's not. That's not going to work. It'll be counter. Doing it God's way, everybody benefits. So God's not going to fix it. God's going to give him knowledge, wisdom, and what? So first thing God's going to do is give him knowledge. Get thee hence and turn thee eastward and hide thyself by the brook Cherith. All right? They won't find you there. Sound like a good idea? So he thinks it's dumb. I'm leaving my house and everything I've got. The answer is what? Yes. Just do it. Where in Proverbs does it say, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding? Can't he use his own understanding? He says, well, I know over there, Jordan's a much better river. Why don't you just hide by the river Jordan? There won't be any protection there. If he changes his mind, if he says, this is where I should go, I know that's sharp, God, but I think this is a better place. Remember what happened to Lot? God said, go over here, and he went, no, I'm going to go over that. It's a prettier place. Remember that? What happened? So, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not to your own what? I just gave it away. That was your test, by the way. Don't use your own what? When you go to God and God gives you answer, you do not use your own intellect, emotion, unless you think you're equally as smart or smarter than God. And if you think that, then I should turn the class over to you. That is before Jordan, and it shall be that thou shalt drink of the brook. All right, and there's the wisdom, right? Knowledge and what? While you're there, this is how you're going to respond. You're going to drink of the brook. And I've commanded the ravens to feed thee there. You're like, oh no, I don't want to eat no bird food. I ain't going to put no worm in my mouth. Isn't that what you would think? If God sent you out and said, don't worry, I got birds going to feed you, what would you think? I mean, seriously. Sounds pretty stupid, doesn't it? Well, God, can't you just make this rock into food for me? That's not how it works. The thing is, everybody wants a Greek and Roman God who's just going to just do this or something out of Disney or something. That's not how it works. God doesn't change anything. God allows you to change to be a more than what? Conqueror. By changing your what? Your perception of reality, your identity, and your ability, your skills to handle it so that you can do more. Remember, why didn't God get rid of the bear? No, David, take him out. What about the lion? No, David, take it out. Why didn't God take care of Goliath? No, David, you're taking out Goliath. Just choose that rock there and that rock there. Got it? And everybody wants God to take care of it. God don't do anything. He doesn't have the rights to the earth. He gave it to you. When he had Moses, he gave it to who? Moses. Everybody prayed to God, but they didn't want to do anything. They didn't want to learn anything. God had to call Moses, and Moses was like, who am I? Hello, I'm there with you. Come on, just do what I tell you. You're okay. And he did, and everybody benefited. Do what God says. That makes sense? And I command the ravens to feed thee there. Now that sounds pretty. Now what's going on? This is a Darth, right? Not a Darth Vader. A Darth means it's like no rain, right? There's no rain. Plants are dying. A drought. No food. It's bad news. Got it? So who has food? Nobody. But somehow the ravens are bringing it. So where is the ravens getting the food? If there are no plants and all the animals are dying of starvation or lack of water, who's the only one that has food? The king. If you look at where this is at, really close as a crow flies, right from Jordan, right to the capital. And ravens are kind of like known for that stuff. So he went and did according to the word of the Lord, and he went and dwelt by the brook Cherith, that is before Jordan. It's exactly what God told him to do. And he didn't have to go hunting or anything like that or fishing. He just had to wait, and the ravens brought him bread, not grain. What? Bread. Now imagine the whole place is starving. This thing goes on for 3.5 years. And if you're starving and you see a bird flying in the air with bread, where are you going? You're going to look for rocks and you're going to throw that thing and get him out of the sky, get that bread from him. I ain't half the thing. Look at this. Ravens brought him bread and what? Flesh. That means meat. And where is he getting the meat? King. Now understand, the food is let out at the window to cool down after it's cooked. You don't want to burn the lips of the king. So they set it out there, and ravens have a habit of taking things like that. But they didn't eat it. They took it right to who? They were allowed to get it. They weren't allowed to keep it. They had to deliver it to him. So that's a nice sized turkey leg, right? Nice chunk of meat. And he got some bread. So is he hurting? Is everybody else hurting? Yes. And the ravens brought him bread and flesh in the morning and bread and flesh in the evening. He had 2 awesome kingly meals twice a day. And he drank of the brook. So is he doing what God says to do? Is God bringing past what he said? Right? Now guess what happens? And it came to pass after a while that the brook what? Now how many people would pray, God, put the water back in the brook. God, there's no water there. Oh, God, fix it. You ever been around little kids? You give them something, they throw it on the floor. They expect you to fix it. You go to feed them and they go, they throw it on the floor. You give it again, they throw it on the floor. Little stinkers. You don't give them any more. Can't respect it, can't use it right. You don't get any more. Time to go to bed. Understand, God doesn't put up with this if we don't respect it. So he's respecting it. He's getting it. Now the brook dried up. Now what? God, the brook is dried up. What do you ask? I'm sorry? Now what do I do? What do you want me to do? I did what you said. I went to the brook Cherith. I got there, and the birds are feeding me, and I'm getting bread and flesh, and I'm drinking of the way. But now the brook's dried up. Now what? Now what will God do now? Make it rain? No. Remember, that is going to be a 3 year of no rain. 3 years, 6 months, no rain. And whenever things happen bad, we want God to fix it. You should not be asking for anything to be fixed. David didn't say, oh, God, get rid of this bear. Oh, God. Oh, get rid of this lion. Oh, God, get rid of the book of Goliath. What are you, spoiled brats? I ruined my brother by doing that. Removing all his challenges for him. And he couldn't function as an adult. Neither could my sisters. Was my intentions good? Yeah. Did it help them? No. It made things worse. Is that making sense? Everybody has to grow. Don't remove their challenges. Help them to match it, but don't take it away from them. Everybody has to what? Grow. And it came to pass after a while the brook dried up because there had been no rain in the land. All right, is Elijah being sharp with God? People are trying to kill him. He's not freaking out. He just goes to God. God says, okay, go over here. Get a new zip code. Gets a new zip code. Birds are there. Better than FedEx. And he gets food. He's all set. Now what happens? God says, okay, what do I do now? All right, new zip code done. So he's going to get a new zip code. Ready? Are you seeing the wisdom to this? You're seeing the knowledge, wisdom. I meditate on thy what? Testimonies. What's this called? A testimony. This really happened. Yeah, Jesus emphasizes this. And 1 Kings 17, 8 through 11, which is the next verse. And the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, now remember, he's really in tune to God. He's seeing from God's perspective. The very word that we use for prayer is not, oh, God, do this. No, that's not what prosuche is. Suche is your heart, your soul, and mind. You present them to God for doctrine, reproof, or correction. You see things from God's perspective. That's what prayer is. For the Romans, it's like begging and pleading. I'll sacrifice my sister or my mother or whatever. But when it comes to God, God don't want you to sacrifice. God just wants you to have the ability to receive his knowledge, wisdom, and what? Understanding. He's going to give you doctrine, reproof, and what? Correction. To see from God's perspective, to have a greater reality, the way God sees it. So he arose and went to, okay, all right, now watch the word of knowledge, the word of God's word. Right now, imagine you're Elijah. And the word of the Lord came unto him saying, now you've already been fed by birds, right? You've been drinking the bread. You got bread and flesh in the morning, bread and flesh in the evening, kingly food, and you got a fresh brook for water, and then the brook's dried up. To the Zarephath which belongeth to Zidon, and dwell there. So I give a new zip code. Behold, I have what? Commanded. So a widow woman is unmarried. Probably her husband died or whatever. Now this is intense. God did what? Command. That means she can receive from who? God. She knows God's going to tell her what to do, and she knows, and she's going to do it. And he trusts her. God trusts this woman, and that's why he can command her. To sustain thee. To do what? Sustain thee. All right? So he arose, right? What happens when you have word of knowledge? First thing you do is what? Act on it, right? Went to Zarephath. All right, he's acting on it. He's going to gain what? Wisdom by acting on it. And when he came to the gate of the city, behold, the widow woman was there gathering of sticks. All right. So you haven't eaten in a while, right? And she's there to do what? Right? To sustain thee, right? So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You know it's her, right? Because God showed, and he said, like, that's her. And he saw her. So what does he do? Now, you're Elijah. What are you going to say to her? What? Yeah. Hey, guess who I am? Right? Did you get the memo? Huh? So he arose and went to Sarah. When he came to the gate of the city, behold, the widow woman was there gathering of sticks. And he called her and said, Fetch me, I pray thee, a little water in a vessel. Well, he's being a snot, isn't he? No, that's his. God commanded her to what? What's he asking for? Well, some water. He's not from there. You can't go to someone's well and just yank out water. Someone has to get it for you. That I may drink. And as she was going to fetch it, he called to her and said, Bring me, I pray thee, a morsel of bread in thy hand. Just give me something to, I'm a little stomach, can I have something, bring me some food, something, a little morsel of bread. All right. How many would say it differently? How many would say it, right? You're the one, God showed me, you're it. I'm here. Now it's your turn. Got it? She's been commanded just like the crows were, the ravens. All right, now here is going to get interesting. What is the greatest thing that defeats us? I'm not talking about defeat. I'm talking about defeats us. What defeats us? Fear, doubt, worry, our emotions, our intellect gets in the way. Trust in the Lord with all thy heart, lean not to thy own what? It's the fear in man that kills him. Does it work the same way for a woman? Yeah. And she said, As the Lord thy God liveth, I have not a cake, but a handful of meal in a barrel and a little oil in a cruse. And behold, I'm gathering 2 sticks that I may go in and dress it for me and my son, that we may eat it and die. Wow. You ever try and tell someone to do the word and they come back and yell and scream at you like you're the most evil person on earth? Does God want her to die? No. No more so than he wanted the ravens to die. Nor does he want Elijah to die. He can talk to her. There's not a lot of people that God can talk to. By the way, all these things are done in parables, that seeing they may see and not perceive, and hearing they may hear and not what? All this stuff no one knows about. I mean, nobody. Asks people. They know nothing about this stuff. They don't know about walking by revelation, understand how the Bible interprets itself. They don't understand the parables. They don't understand anything. You understand, this is really the greatest teaching anyone can give. Are you worthy of it? Are you the right people? Now, what would you tell her? You can read ahead if you want to. You already did, I know. What do you tell her? How many would do that? Well, that's not very Christian of you. Feed me first, you perv. No, look. And Elijah said to her, Fear not, go and do as thou hast said, but make me thereof a little cake. What? What a selfish, self-centered son of a bitch. Right? What's this all about? Isn't that how we would figure it? How dare he? He should go without to give to her and her son. If he does, all 3 will die. They just push God out. It'll just be the 3 of them dying together. You understand the problem? Do you have what it takes to stick on God's word? Or do you have what it takes to flake? This is rough. Elijah is not a heartless guy. He really does care about her. But he knows what the word says, what her responsibility is, and he doesn't want her to lose the protection of God, nor does he want to lose the protection of God. That's why he says what? Fear not. What does fear do to you? Go and do what I said, but make me thereof a little cake first. Why? Because God told her to sustain what? Him. How many, if she had said that to you, would you say, okay, all right, I'll go without? Thinking that was godly. How many? Oh, I love your honesty. I know I would have. If it wasn't for this reproving me. And if you're the kind of person that would just say, go, that's all right, don't do the word. We don't need God with us and God blessing us. You know, we'll do what we feel and think. Oh, they all been dead. You understand? Life is not going to get easier from here on out. Life's going to get pretty damn intense. And I can't be there for you all the time, though I'll try. But God will be there for you all the time. Please take it serious. I'm not teaching you to walk by the Spirit of God for nothing. I can sit there and teach you Aramaic, and I can teach you Hebrew, and I can teach you all these dumb, stupid stuff. But how would you apply it? The purpose is for you to walk with who? God. Fear not, go and do as thou hast said, but make me thereof a little cake first, and bring it unto what? Me. When? First. Isn't that her responsibility? Isn't that what God commanded her? The whole world has gone in the handbasket. Everything is dying, everything is suffering, and she's babying. But it's not because of God, it's because of her own what? Her own fears. And he's there, and she's like, oh, I'm going to die. You know, that kind of crap. You know, all freaking out. And he's like, what? Look, just do what God says. Go ahead and make the water. Go ahead and bring me some water and make a little cake, and then give it to me first. And bring it unto me. After, make for thee and for thy son. Doesn't have to be big. Just feed me what? First. He's not being a jerk. He's just got to get her to do the what? Remember when Jesus talked to the woman that was Syropheniciac, where he says to her, it's not right to give the children's bread to dogs. And she did what? True. People would say, how dare you call me a dog? And walk away from him. But he spoke that she would answer an affirmative to the word. And she did. Can you answer an affirmative to the word? Can you? For thus saith the Lord God of Israel, the barrel of meal shall not waste, neither shall the cruse of oil fail. Now that's intense. There's only 2 accounts like this that happened in the past. But the strangest thing about it, and I witnessed something similar to it, not the same, but similar. The thing about God is that God isn't into this big 20th Century Fox MGM production. He's just not. He keeps it really simple. The cruse of oil fail. Now, if you can imagine her making this. The cruse of oil isn't very big. It's about this tall and looks like a little, olive thing. Have you ever do mixed salads? You got that little thing, you take the top up and you go like this. That's a cruse, right? It's not a very big thing. It's got oil in it. And there's a little barrel or a little, like a clay pot, and that's where she goes to market and brings it back and dumps it in there. And you go down, and you can't see in there when you can tilt it maybe, but you usually go down there and you can feel there's only a handful of meal left. Just a little handful of meal, and she pulls it out, and there's a little. She can't see. It's not glass. It's clay. And she pours it in. And she makes him a little cake what? First. And she makes the bread. Then she delivers it to him. Then she reaches down there and another one there. Got it? How this works. There's only one hand of meal in there. Now she's pulling out a what? Second one. There's only a little oil in the cruse to make one cake. Now she takes it, she pours it out, and there's another. Oh, wow, it's just enough for another cake. She makes for her, then she reaches in. There's a third one. and oil again. And she makes for her son, make for herself. She made for her son, for herself, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day, twice a day, every single day. And she always begins with only one handful and a little oil in the cruse. Every day. Got it? This is where I want you to understand how God works. If you're expecting a big production, all of a sudden the whole place is filled with that. That's not how it works. Got it? It's not going to all of a sudden appear 6 barrels of oil. That's not how it works. It's very subtle, very simple, but doesn't quit. The barrel of oil, the barrel of meal shall not waste, neither shall the cruse of oil fail until the day the Lord sendeth rain upon the earth. That's 3 years from there. 3 years, they lived off a handful of meal and a little oil in the cruse for 3 years. That's intense. She starts off that me and my son may eat it and die. You don't understand how God works. And the more you learn God's word and how it works, and then you apply it and you see it works like that, you're like, whoa! Same secret, same knowledge Jesus has, because it's Christ where? In you. Who's supposed to do the works that Jesus did? Why aren't people doing it? Because they don't want to? I disbelieve that. They're lacking what? Knowledge. And she went and did according to the saying of Elijah, and she and her house did eat. The word many is in italics. Every time you see it in italics, it's added by the what? Italics is added by the what? By the translators, right. They just couldn't accept that. This word days isn't days. The word there is a segment that's been revealed. Well, what's the segment that's already been revealed? Until the day brings rain upon the what? Earth. So all the days that includes. So I looked at that and was like, many days? That doesn't fit the Hebrew, but that's what they got. And then no other version has any different. But understand, this word days just means the seasonal, the time it takes until there's rain. So that whole time, which happens to be 3 years. Got it? So you're now having the accuracy of that verse. And the barrel of meal wasted not, neither did the cruse of oil fail, according to the word of the Lord. So you want God to tell you what to do, you act on it, and you get the what? You get the benefits. But you got to make sure that you're hearing from who? Si te hablo contigo en español, puedo que entender las palabras porque es su lengua, ¿verdad? Tú tienes esas palabras en su vocabulario. But did you understand what I said? She didn't understand a word. Because she didn't have the thoughts, the words, the understanding. God only talks to those that have His knowledge, His wisdom, and His what? Understanding. The best, if you don't have it, all He can do is go and call your name until you do. Does that make sense? Now, here's the account that Jesus speaks of it. He's going to give the account. Luke 4, 25 and 26. So he's going to reference it. Apparently, this is one of Jesus' favorites. And I tell you the truth. So here's the truth. Many widows were in Israel in the days of Elias. Now, why does it say Elias? It's still Elijah, but you went from Hebrew into Greek. Here you're going from Hebrew into English. Here you're going from Hebrew into Greek and from Greek into English. And you don't have that ja sound in the Greek, so it disappears. Got it? But I tell you the truth, many widows were in Israel at the days of Elijah, when the heavens were shut up 3 years and what? There it is. Now, compared to many days, no. It means a segment of time as referenced. And here we see 3 years and 6 months, when a great famine was throughout all the land. But unto none of them was Elijah sent, save unto Sarepta, a city of Sidon, unto a woman that was a widow. How many widows were there? Hundreds. And God did not talk to them. God did not help them. Why? Why doesn't God help? Doesn't God care about people? He's not the God of everybody. Everybody has their own gods. Whether they're fantasy or imagination or ego or selfishness, everybody has their own ego. God is the God of those whose heart has the same as his. How many heard of Fukushima that blew up, right? How many people know that over 10,000 people died? Now the reason none of you, didn't anybody cry when you heard 10,000 people died? No, because they're not part of your reality. They're not. You didn't think about them. You didn't think about them before the Fukushima earthquake, nor after them. You don't know their names. You don't know what they care about. They didn't have it. You don't know anything about them. So they mean absolutely what? Nothing. All the people sit there and say, yes, God is in my heart. They have no idea what they're talking about. You understand? I want God to be in your reality. I want you to discover God's power and manifestation in your life as you call it into being. I know it already works. I wouldn't be up here, giving you my whole heart if I didn't know it works. The object is now your turn to see it work. Nothing's changed. Same God. But you got to do it his way for him to bring that power. Got it? How many are mad at me? Anyone mad at me yet? I'm working hard. All right. Frank, you're not being very religious. Damn straight I'm not. So there we see the many days. Many is in italics. It's not there. It just says, and eat days. How many have ever eaten days? See, it's a bad translation. 3 years and 6 months is the accuracy of it according to its usage, which is 3 years and 6 months. And here it is. It matches. The word fits. All right. Well, surely Jesus had a relate. No, he had discipline. He disciplined himself and meditated on God's word day and what? Night. Especially on the what? He meditated day and night, especially on the what? Okay. What gives you understanding? Precepts. Precepts, not the commandments. If you know the commandments, what's the precept? If you know the laws, what's the commandment? Trace it back to the what? Precepts. And the precepts are all listed in Proverbs, from the biggest to the smallest. All right, got it? Everybody still with me? Okay. John 5:30. So here's what Jesus says. I can of my own self do what? Nothing. As I hear. As I what? Hear. That's talking about, remember, Samuel heard? Revelation. I judge. I make a judgment call. And my judgment is just because I seek not my own will. It trusts in God with all his heart and leans not to his own what? Understanding his own wisdom. How many really thought about what he would do with that Zarephath woman? I'm gathering 2 sticks that I may eat it and prepare for my son that we may eat it and die. What would you have said? Seriously, what would you have said? My judgment is just because I seek not my own will, but the will of the Father which has what? Sent me. It's not easy, but it's beneficial. People need to see it. You can't take away their challenges, but you can stand by them during their challenges. Is that making sense? You face a challenge, you need me, I'm there with you. I'm not going to take it over for you. Like how you go home, I'll take care of it. Now, I've already been through that. It doesn't work. All right. Knowledge, wisdom, and what? Understanding. Hot dog. Right? Now look, 2 Timothy. All scripture is given by what? All right. Theopneustos. God breathing. Everybody go. All right. You got a neighbor sitting next to you? The person sitting next to you? Now don't look. Look, everybody look forward. But the one person, lean over and breathe in the other person's ear. Ready? Go. All right? Did you could tell someone's there?
No.
No one breathed in your ear? Would you breathe in her ear, please? There, okay. No one breathes in my ear. All right, all Scripture. How much of it? All of it. Does that mean from Genesis 1:1 to Revelations? Yeah. Yeah, all of it. All Scripture is given by the Theopneustos. It's God breathing when? Now. And is profitable for doctrine, which gives you knowledge. Reproof, which gives you what? Wisdom. And for correction, which gives you what? Understanding. Now understand, if you're an adult, you're going to give, you think you're giving the child knowledge, wisdom, understanding, but from their point of view, it's, always give me on my case. You're always finding fault with me. No, I'm just freaking helping you out. Got it? Kids are like that. For correction, for which is instruction in righteousness. Why? Why? That you who? That the what? Can a woman be a man of God? Yeah, it's like, can a woman be a surgeon? The answer is yes. Can a woman be a postman? Yes. It's just a nomenclature given to anyone who's speaking for who? God. So yes. Just like Pharaoh. Was there a female Pharaoh? Yeah, Hatshepsut. Surprisingly, you won't believe who it looks like. It looks like her. You look up Queen Hatshepsut, it looks just like Lupita. It's like, no. I know, maybe. Which is instruction in righteousness, that the man of God, which is including women of God, it's just an all-inclusive noun, may be what? Perfect. You can't be perfect. I'm sorry. You can. There it is. Can you be good? No. Can you be perfect? Yes. Just the reverse. That the man of God may be what? Perfect. Truly. Inside and what? It's not thoroughly. Thoroughly is on the outside. Truly is inside and out. And that word furnished and that word is the same word, just conjugated. Truly furnished, perfected unto all good what? Works. There you go. Your destiny. And with all my heart, I hope I've helped. That is default assumption and how we need to keep away from it. And trust in the Lord with all our heart and lean not to our own what? Understanding. So, Father, I thank you for the greatness of your word and the beauty of each person's life here, for the great things that they're yet to do and accomplish as they continue to learn, to understand, and to grow in the greatness of your word. That you, Father, continue to give them shadow, that they can be in your shadow, in your power and your authority, and that they can truly be your living temple with you, your thoughts, your images, your truth dwelling within them, that they may truly glorify you and walk in the footsteps of your firstborn from the dead are risen and return, Lord Jesus, your anointed. Okay, you ready? You are God's what? I love you.